everyone, my name is Rhiannon from Blue Dog Board Games, and today we're going to be playing a solo playthrough of another beautiful, it seems to be a running theme on my channel, a beautiful game called Wild Gardens. Now, it is no secret that Keystone North America is one of my favourite, if not my favourite game of all time. I absolutely adore the solo mode of Keystone North America, and this game has been brought out by Rose Gauntlet Games, the same people that published Keystone North America, so I had absolutely huge hopes and expectations for this game. So it definitely had a lot to live up to. So I've actually played this one a reasonable amount. There are 7 solo scenarios in the base game. You can get expansion packs with 3 more solo scenarios in, but I'm going to be playing one of the solo scenarios in the base game today, and we are actually going to be doing scenario 7 out of 7, so the very final one. That means it may be more difficult than the rest that in the booklet, so we may or may not win. I will say I haven't yet lost a scenario, so hopefully we will win, but whether or not we will get a brilliant score or not will be determined. There's also going to be a fair amount of me talking in this playthrough as well, because it is very text heavy, and for that I deeply apologise. But without further ado, we are all set up, ready to go, so let's get going. So here we are all set up for Wild Gardens. I was going to call it Keystone North America. Wild Gardens, and if you have played it a couple of times already, you will see that it actually looks slightly different. So in this scenario, we actually don't start with any source tokens. You have source tokens, which are big chunky ingredients that you're going to be foraging around the board, and you've also got ingredient tokens specifically, which are little tiny versions of those same ingredients. They're all off screen. In this scenario as well, the only person that we can serve at the moment is a little girl called Odette, and she is up here. We are starting in the Willamette Valley in Oregon, which looks absolutely gorgeous, and here is our rest options. We've got our our research area over here, so we can research certain ingredients to upgrade our actions on our base game board. We also start the game with one of our special research tokens already out, so I have chosen this one. So I've chosen to be able to forage an extra time when I choose the foraging action. And finally, we've got our recipes that we can cook. So we start with 6, unless it tells us otherwise in the scenario, which it hasn't. So we've got our ingredients that we need to cook this watercress omelette, and the points we get for cooking it. The only thing that I haven't been able to get on the screen today is the scoring board. So you have 2 aspects of your scoring. You have a pollinator, you've got a little bug that you're going to be ticking up just normal points. So if you score 7 points, you tick it up 7 spaces. But you've also got a jar, and the jar is a more powerful way of scoring points. It jumps between spaces. So sometimes if you move up 1 jar space, you're actually skipping 2 or 3 or more points, so that every single point you're moving up doesn't necessarily have a jar on, so it jumps gaps each time. But you won't be able to see that, so unfortunately I couldn't fit it on, but you don't really need to see it anyway. You'll just be able to know what I score at the end of the game, and when and how I'm going to be pushing up my jars, if at all. So we are going to read the intro. So we are on scenario 7. So this is classed as a advanced scenario. You actually have 3 basic scenarios and 4 advanced scenarios in the game. I'm not sure what the difficulty of the expansion ones are. I'm assuming they are more advanced as well. But anyway, this one's called Creatures Big and Small, and I will read the intro before we then get into what we're going to be doing. So today you are off to teach your young niece, Odette, about foraging. She's always shown interest in nature, and you can't wait to share your knowledge with her. You arrive at Odette's house, and she greets you with a beaming smile and quickly drags you into her room to show you what she got to prepare for the trip. That's not very good English, is it? What she got? Maybe it is. What she got to prepare for the trip. I would have said she has got. Anyway, as you enter the room, you gaze at the wonder she has created. A sanctuary for stuffed animals of all shapes, sizes and colours. They seem to occupy every available inch of space, from the bed to the shelves and even perched on top of the wardrobe. The centrepiece of this soft and cuddly world is an enormous stuffed raccoon, conspicuously large among its fellow stuffed companions. Its furry body is meticulously crafted, complete with a bandit-like mask around its eyes and a fluffy ringed tail that drapes elegantly over the side of the plush armchair. From under the creature's belly, she pulls out a small wicker basket that is almost a perfect smaller recreation of your own. Mum got this for me. It's just like yours, she beams. Let's go fill it up. With wicker baskets in hand, you both set off into the woods behind her house to begin your lessons. You begin to explain to Odette how to identify different edible plants and mushrooms, showing her the vibrant colours, shapes, and textures that signify which ones are safe to eat. While you try to keep her attention on foraging, you notice her beginning to be distracted by the animals on the trail. Don't blame me there, Odette. Perhaps a tasty meal from the things you have collected thus far could get her attention back to the task at hand, you think to yourself. So our setup, it gives you specific setup instructions. So instead of placing 6 guests to serve, usually in a multiplayer game, you'll have 6 guests that are out and about. We've just got Odette, and we do not place any of the source tokens on the board, and they're all in our bag off screen. So that's these that are going to be usually forageable. And before placing our skill tokens at the library, our library is up here, I have chosen a skill token already. So we've got a couple of extra rules as well, so let's have a read of those. So we're going on an extended trip today. Normally in a game you will be playing through 2 trips, and each trip is 3 days long. But today we're going to be doing an extended trip at one location, so we do not change locations after our first trip. We're just going to be staying in the Willamette Valley. And there's another rule, new discovery. After moving, we can place up to 3 random source tokens from the bag on adjacent empty foraging zones. At the beginning of the second trip, all revealed source tokens on the path board remain. Do not place them back in the bag. Okie dokie. And our goals, as usual, it's to complete all our milestones, and it will give us certain milestones in the story. And we also have to gain a certain amount of points to win the game. So the base is 50 points for the standard achievement, 75 for the epic, and 100 points, which is quite a lot. I've never scored anywhere near that high, to gain the legendary achievement. And it starts with our very first milestone, which is to begin the game, and we have to serve Odette. And Odette is here, and we've got some symbols at the left-hand side. So we've got like a croissant in the yellow symbol, which says she wants a breakfast item. So we've got 2 breakfast items out at the moment, actually, the watercress omelette and the chimichurri eggs. So we can choose one of those, or we can potentially be able to sift through our whole deck to find another one if we didn't like that. And this multicolored icon is just any recipe. So it can be a breakfast item, a drink, a dessert, anything we want it to be. So let's just get started. So we start next to the statue. So there's a little rabbit statue here. So we're going to start there. And this board's actually double-sided. So it's exactly the same premise. It's just a slightly different, it's a different color palette. So this one I felt was very autumnal, and I'm feeling very autumnal today. It is, miserable outside as usual. And this one sort of goes off in different directions. So you can come off up here, and this has a little 2, which then loops back around to here. So you can then come up this way or go this way. This has a 1 and 2, so that comes off the board and enters here. And you've also got a 1 coming around here, which enters at the top. So this one's sort of carrying on in a straight line and a little loopy bit there. But the other one is a circular thing, is like a figure of 8 type thing that you can do. So I just chose this one just because of the colours. So these rules, this special rule is actually a little bit strange. So this means that we can't plan where we want to forage at the moment, because we're going to be moving and then drawing the tokens out when we get there. So that's a little bit strange. So all we know at the moment is we want 3 of the water plants and 2 roots, or we want a flower, like a bark, a berry, and 2 greenery items. So we're just going to have to hope for the best. So I think we've got 3 actions that we can do. And we've actually got to go and do this in a minute, actually. And we have 5 tokens that we can choose from. They've 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a 1 to 4. And that just determines the amount of spaces that you're going to be moving. And you always have to move that exact number of spaces. You can't move less or more unless you've got a modifier from the library. And you put your marker on one of these 3 action spaces to determine what you want to do. But first of all, we actually have something to resolve up here. So this says at the beginning of each day in player order, we can gain 2 ingredients of your choice or 3 of the current main ingredient. Oh, that's quite nice. So our main ingredient is the one that's on top of the deck. I'm not sure if you can see it. So this is a wild raspberry at the moment. And this bit is basically just the pink berries. So I could choose to get 3 pink berries at the moment or 2 ingredients of my choice. I might try and get this watercress omelette, in which case I think I'm going to go for 2 ingredients of my choice and grab 2 roots, and they can just come down here. And now we can start the game. So because we don't know what we're foraging yet, I think I'm just going to use my really low value one. So I'm going to choose my number 1 and go foraging. So I'm going to stick it on the foraging space. That means I can move 1 space. So I can either move this direction, there's arrows if you can't see them properly, which tell you which directions you can move. So I'm going to move down here, 1 space. And then that special rule said that I can draw 3 tokens randomly from the bag to place them out next to me. So I'm just going to take them from the bag. These are beautiful, like printed bags with wild gardens on the front. Oh, we got some greenery. Oh, perfect. Look at that. The sea. I was going to call it a sea creature. The sea water material. So that is absolutely spot on what we want. So when you are foraging any combination of the 3 adjacent ingredients. So it can be clearer, I think. I think it could have been clearer. But these are the 3 adjacent because you can sort of tell by where the clumps of the artwork lie. So this green sort of bush sort of borders this space and this space. And this red one here half borders this space I'm on and the next one. So I'm actually foraging 3 times. Each hand icon is a forage action, and I've already boosted it once because of my beginning of the game rule. So I'm going to take 3 of these watercress type plants, aquatic plants, and then I can hopefully cook this watercress omelette and serve Odette soon. I also need to serve her something else, so let's just continue foraging for a moment as well. And that's basically it. We've moved and foraged, and then we keep going. And it'd be good to actually reveal a lot of the tokens out quickly, because I could move here to cook. To cook or serve someone, you actually have to be on a picnic spot. I sort of think of it as like you're trekking for a national park, and then you come across, I don't know how in America or anywhere like that, but in the UK, sometimes you can come across like picnic areas if it's like an established route where they have like little barbecues or grills and benches that you can use. And so I imagine it like this. You're on a trail, a well-established trail, and you're finding like a grill to use. So you're using it there. So you can only serve people food or cook for them at these spots. So I think I might move 1, 2, 3. Yeah, let's move 3. And we're going to cook. So 1, 2, 3. After we have moved, we are going to draw these. Bark, a root, and some more greens. That's good. And then I'm going to cook. So I'm going to cook by discarding these 3 aquatic plants and these 2 roots to cook this watercress omelette. So all that happens is I move it, I'm running out of room already, into this cooked recipes area. Sorry if some of it's off the screen. And I score the number of victory points that it says there. And that's on my pollinator, my standard victory points. I'm not jumping ahead with jars. So I'm just going to move up 7. There we go. And we've got 3 tokens left. So we still need to draw that back again so that we've always got 6 present. And we just need to keep foraging. And this one's looking quite nice because there's only 2 ingredients that we need. But there's a good combination of like flowers and berries. So lots of flowers and berries are needed. So let's move 2 spaces to do some more foraging, I think. So we're going to go 1, 2, all the way back here, looping back round, and draw 3 tokens. That's not what I want, really. Okay. That's not quite what I wanted, but then I can forage 3 times. So is there anything on here? I mean, I could actually forage twice with that wood. I've just said I can cook the birch shortbread then. And let's grab, I'm going to look to see at the library to see what thing I'd rather do. So I'm going to grab a mushroom because I'm going to go and study about the mushrooms in a minute, I reckon. That could be good. That could be good to do. That's actually, this rule is making it very hard to go and study. To study, basically you need to do your usual movement and discard 1 ingredient matching a neighboring source token. So if I wanted to study about the mushrooms, I'd have to land next to a mushroom, discard 1 mushroom ingredient that I have, to then be able to take the mushroom book, place it in one of my book slots, and also gain the upgrade token that's next to it in the library. And I can place that upgrade token anywhere on my board to upgrade the action that's associated with it. But because I don't know where the mushrooms are at the moment, it's going to be a little bit difficult. I'm going to have to just bide my time for a turn or 2. But that's fine. I think now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to have to, if we want to cook, we're going to have to use this one here. If I do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I could serve. Yeah, so if we move 1, 2, 3, let's draw these tokens and see what they are. More nuts and seeds. Oh, double nuts and seeds. Triple nuts and seeds, oh no. Okay, and all I want to do is cook this birch shortbread. So discard 2 of the bark and I get 2 points for that. 1, 2. I'm just going to pop this in you don't really need to see it now. There we go. Oh, we've got lots of drinks that are out. That's fine. I'm also having a look at Odette's ability. So each card, each guest has like a specific ability, and it may be like an immediate type ability. So when you serve them, it may be a discard ability. So you can choose to like discard them from the game. You don't lose their victory points, but you just get a certain thing you can do when you discard them. And Odette says at the game end, you gain 2 points for each guest in your play area, including herself. So that's really nice. So I want to try and serve as many people as possible. But the thing is, I've only got her out at the moment. So let's now, if we go, I've only got my 4 left. If we do 1, 2, 3, 4. Or shall I do 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Or shall I do? No, let's go down here. Let's do it down this way. So we want 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I want to be at a picnic spot. That means I can reveal these 2 tokens. I would have only been revealing 1 up there. Okay, we got flour. We're getting quite a few of them out, so at least we have a good idea of where most things are. And a berry. Okay, that's fine. And now I want to serve. So I'm going to serve Odette. I think they're going to have to be off screen, probably. So Odette wanted a breakfast item and a random item. It could have been anything. So I have got the watercress omelette for my breakfast item, and I'm also serving her birch shortbread for a dessert. So I can just tuck these under her. It doesn't really matter what they are anymore. And I activate any abilities if it's like a when served ability, but hers is at the end of the game, so we can ignore that. And we also don't score her any immediate points, but she does have a jar on her. we are going to be at some point considering trying to move our jars up, but you have to do it at specific trigger points. You can't just earn those points. So for example, when we are looking at resting in a second, I didn't even put my thing down, did I? There we go. Sorry. When we're looking at resting in a second, we can spend a berry and a, a piece of bark to move our jar along according to how many jars we have in our player area. So now we've served Odette, we will have 1, and we also start the game with 1 on our player board. So I'm going to stick her off the board, unfortunately. But also the very final thing that we have to do is have a look at her speech bubble. So this is part of the solo game. So we're going to be reading entry 107. Now we have hit that trigger point. So when we are serving these people, we are then giving them the food and they're going to talk to us. So let's see what Odette has to say. So Odette is entry 107. Where's 107? Up here. Okay. So there's no good place to put it. You prepare a meal and Odette couldn't be happier. I can't believe we made this with the stuff you found. It's so yummy. As you finish your meal, you decide to inquire about the giant raccoon plush you saw in her room earlier. The young girl's eyes widen with surprise, and her little face scrunches up in an exaggerated expression of astonishment. What? She gasps, her voice filled with mock outrage. You don't know about Chonk? This is an emergency. You can't help but chuckle at her dramatic response. Oh no, it's an emergency? What should we do? You respond. Odette leaps into action, her tiny fists clenched with determination. We need to educate you immediately. Chonk the raccoon is the most famous raccoon ever. With a flourish, she grabs from her pocket a set of trading cards with various odd animals on them and holds one in the air like a flag of victory. Behold, Chonk the Magnificent. He's chubby, cute, and a mischievous food lover. He's also the undisputed ruler of all the snacks. You play along with her enthusiasm and nod seriously. She grins and begins to regale you with tales of Chonk's legendary snack adventures. Every story she tells is accompanied by animated gestures and exaggerated expressions, making it impossible not to get caught up in her whimsical narrative. By the end of your crash course on Chonk the Raccoon, you find yourself just as enchanted by the chubby little rascal as she is, but you decide to turn the narrative back to her studies. Well, if Chonk loves snacks so much, maybe we should make a ton more, and who knows, we might even meet him, you suggest. But I'll need your help finding the ingredients. Da, da, da. Oh my god, there's so much stuff on this one. Oh my gosh, maybe I should have done a different scenario. The young girl's eyes, previously wide with excitement, suddenly take on a whole new level of brightness and wonder. It's as if 1,000 stars have ignited within them, each one shining with the possibility of a dream coming true. Her gaze becomes fixed and unwavering, focused solely on the prospect of meeting her idol. Yes, 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 she shouts, flailing both hands to the sky. A sense of guilt begins to creep into your heart. You may have inadvertently raised her hopes too high, promising an encounter that you are not entirely certain you can deliver. Perhaps you think to yourself, your friends can help you find a chonky raccoon to fit the bill. So we've got a couple of new rules. So foraging 101, instead of returning a book to the library when performing a free skill return, you may instead place that book on Odette's card. To win the game, you must also have at least 5 books on Odette's card before the game ends. Oh, interesting. Okay. So normally when you return a book to the library, you have to pay one of the ingredients. You can only have a maximum of 2 books at a time. Oh, so... Oh gosh, we're going to have to really get on that. So we need 5 books on Odette. Once a book is on Odette's card, it cannot be removed until the end of the game, blah, blah, blah. You can only place books on Odette when using the free skill return. Yeah, other abilities or effects that return books to the library cannot be used to place books on Odette. That's mean. Okay, another new rule is Chonk loves snacks. So we can search the guest deck for Mips and Mims, Winry and Chonk. So I need to find some of the guests in a minute and get them out. Shuffle them together and place them face down to form the Chonky deck. When there are ingredient tokens on top of this deck, you may discard one of them by discarding a cooked recipe that has that ingredient in its cost. When an ingredient is removed from the top of this deck, draw a card from the top of the deck and immediately serve that guest without paying its cost or needing to be in the picnic zone. So no ingredients start on the top of the deck. Serving other available guests may place ingredients on when reading their story entries. Okay. Interesting. So our second milestone. So we need to also search the deck for a couple of other people, Mary and Maisel, Alejandro, Sloane, Brooklyn, and Professor Shade. Add those cards to the supply. Perhaps one of your friends can help you find a chunky raccoon to at least somewhat follow through on your promise. So our goal is to serve guests until we find Chunk right now. All right, so I'm going to go away and have another read of that and set all of that up. Okay, so we've got the chunk deck down by me, but you don't really need to see that, so it's okay being off the screen. And we've got our 5 people that we can serve at the top there. We'll have a look at those in a minute, though, because we are ending our first day. We are completely out of tokens, so we need to rest before we go on to day 2. So what I think we are going to do is, what we have a look at is the rest options up here. So we've got 4 different options, and that will depend on what token we are going to be using to rest with. So for example, if we leave our number 1 token here for the rest of this trip, remember we are taking 2 trips in the same area, but we will refresh them, all of our tokens, when we start our second trip at the same area. So if I contributed number 1, I would activate the number 1 spot, which is to gain 2 of the ingredient, the main ingredient, which at the moment is the greens, which could be nice. Could be a good option. If I contributed number 2, I would be able to reserve a recipe. And when you do that, you can, in the solo game, you can search the whole deck for the first recipe you come across of a specific type. So say you wanted a breakfast item, you just keep going until you find a breakfast item and reserve it. Gain a point. 3 is activate when served ability on a card that you have in your player area, and I don't have any, so I definitely won't be doing that. And number 4 is moving your jar token along by how many jars you have in your play area by discarding the ingredients, in which case this is some bark and a berry, and I won't be doing that either. So I'm actually going to be doing this, I think. Let me just think about that. We actually have quite a good selection of materials out. We've got drinks for Alejandro. We've got a breakfast item for Mary and Maisel. We don't have a dinner item for Brooklyn, but she can just wait then. So I think, yeah, we're going to contribute our number 1 token to rest. This is where you would also pass your first player token. And so I'm going to gain 2 of the main ingredient, which is the greens. We also gain all of our tokens back and proceed to day number 2. If you put down and you rest with your 1 to 4 token, you can choose any of those options, which is really nice. So we have to hurry up and get those books over to Odette. This is going to be really tricky. That's going to be so tricky. But we wanted to get that mushroom book. So let's try and focus on that. So we actually need to hurry up in that case and get some more ingredients going. Okay, we're not going to do that right now because I don't see another mushroom around this area. We're going to have to wait until a mushroom is present. We could contribute the greens, but actually looking at this, I always need 2 greens for these recipes. Okay, we are going to we have to get going on some of these materials. We have to. So I'm going to select my number 2 to move 1, 2. Let's draw and see what this token is. Some more greens, okay. And then I'm going to forage 3 times. That's not what I wanted to do, sorry. I'm not foraging. I was actually researching, so honest. So I've moved there, revealed the token. I can discard an adjacent material. I'm going to discard the greens, that's fine. To get the green book, I'm going to pop that in one of my book slots. And I can also grab the token, the upgrade, and put it somewhere. Where do I want to put it? Probably against the forage action and just accumulate lots of nuts. That could be good. And we draw a replacement one. This one seems really tough. Okay, so now what I want to do really is I really need to forage just everything. I want to forage everything. So I also want to reveal tokens. So if I do 1, 2, 3, unfortunately, there's not really a good place to like reveal lots of stuff. So I might just move. I mean, if I forage here, I could get my greens back and the bark to hopefully make this millet chai in a second, because I can hopefully then go and get some berries and flowers. Okay, so I'm going to move 1. I can move 2 actually. Let's move 2 spaces. So I'm going to move 1, 2. To forage, I want 2 bark. Forage, I get a nut. And then I get to forage once more. Do I want a root? There's nothing out here that needs roots. So I'm going to go for some more greens. Yeah. Okay, so if I go 1, 2, 3. Yeah, let's go 1, 2, 3, and then we can forage for the flowers. Yeah, let's do that. We just need to forage lots. 1, 2, 3. Or would it have been better to do 1, 2, 3? Let's do that up there so we can reveal that top ingredient. Oh, I've just realized though I'm not next to, oh no, that's fine. I'm not next to the wood, but that's fine. We're actually, see what I mean? It's very difficult because I thought I was adjacent to that. I'm not. I'm next to another flower and a mushroom, which is fine. I'm going to therefore forage twice. I'm going to get 2 flowers. I get a nut and I can forage once more. What do I want? Let's go for another flower with the idea that we can hopefully at some point very soon get another upgrade token. Yeah, okay. It would be really nice to cook now as well. I'm also trying to be aware of what I want to do with these rest actions. I think I'm going to forget about victory points. I've just realized as well, I forgot to do the at the beginning of each day. So I might actually gain 2 ingredients of my choice in a second. I haven't really done anything to not worry about that. So I'm trying to think what I would have chosen. I probably would have chosen something like bark. Should we get 2 bark? All right, we're cheating. We're going to get 2 bark to replace what I didn't get at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of the day. What was I saying? I'm trying to think about what I want to do for my rest action in a minute. But I'm going to, I think, forget about worrying about victory points in terms of moving the jar. This is going to be a tough scenario. So I might just move 1, 2, 3, 4 and cook. And then, yeah, look at that. If I do that, 1, 2, 3, 4, cook. We're also revealing these 3 tokens out as well. I actually really want another, what are we after now? See, berries are a bit in short supply. That's fine. So we are going to cook this, I think. Yeah, let's cook that. So that's 2 flowers, 2 greens, and 2 bark. And that's 6 points. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we are out of ingredients again, so we need to rest. We draw that back up. And so I can choose what one I want to do. We still don't have any when served abilities. We don't have any berries. I don't have a number 1. So I might choose the number 2, and I could find a dinner item. Let's do that, I think. So if we rest with number 2. We can search the deck for a dinner item. I'm going to just go from the bottom. And then we take the first one, we reserve that. So that goes into our reservations. We haven't cooked it or anything, and we get a point. I'm just going to read the rules. I don't usually do that. Whether or not we now shuffle the deck, I'm not sure. You do indeed. So I'm just going to cut the deck because I'm rubbish at shuffling. There we go. And there we go. Day 3. So we take our tokens back. So this time I'm not going to forget. So at the beginning of each day in player order, I can gain 2 of the main ingredients. So I can gain 2 nuts, or I can gain 2 of my choice. Let's try and grab, I mean, I've got 2 nuts. There's not much nutty stuff around. So I think I might go for 2 berries because everything wants berries. So let's go for 2 berries. Yeah. Okay. Let's go, and we would really like to research something. Oh, I also really desperately need to put these books on Odette quickly. Gosh, oh my God, this one is really hard. I'm not sure how to do that. We're going to have to come and forage over here then. Maybe we won't get, you know what? Let's think about that a bit more. I'm actually not going to get those berries. I'm going to get a berry and a green. At this point then, I'm going to pay that green to take that book back to the library, but give it to Odette. Which means she's got 1. We really need to move and get on with it. So it would be really good actually to take that wood book out. If I move 1, 2 to research, 1, 2, I reveal this token up here. It's a mushroom. And I'm going to research by paying this wood to take the wood book, to grab that token, the upgrade token. Okay, where do I want it? Let's put it here. This one means when you are, I'm going to be putting it under the cook and serve. So when you are cooking and serving and there is an adjacent bark, you gain 2 of the bark. I'm just thinking it was a reasonable spot because this picnic spot is next to some bark and this picnic spot is next to some bark. So that's as good as it's going to get, really. I can then, as a free action, pay that bark to give that book to Odette. All right. And let's go and serve Alejandro. So I've got a 1, 2, 3 I could use. It would be nice to actually try and serve. Is there a way that I could combine this to serve when I'm next to this? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, probably not. What about 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. No. Okay, that's not going to work this round. I don't think it really matters one way or another which way I go. So I'm going to choose this 3 to move 1, 2, 3. And I'm just going to serve. So I'm going to serve Alejandro. So he wanted a drink and he has got one. So he's going to give me 2 points. Thank you very much. And he has got a discard ability, so I can discard him to gain 4 of the current main ingredients. So I could get 4 nuts. And so let's pop him down here. He's going to give me entry 106. So as you stroll through the tranquil trails, you recall that your friend Alejandro, renowned for his exceptional talent in capturing the beauty of nature and animals with his art, resides nearby. You figure he might have a clue about the whereabouts of Chonk. Upon reaching Alejandro's cozy cabin, nestled amidst the trees, you find him outside asleep in front of his easel covered in paint. You ease him awake to see if he is okay. He jolts awake, knocking over some of his brushes and the canvas he was working on. "Santa Maria, you scared the devil out of me," he gasps. You apologize and begin to help him pick up the things that fell. As you pick up his painting, you can't help but notice his latest creation. The canvas depicts a group of playful raccoons, one of which bears a striking resemblance to Chonk. It's as if he's captured your furry friend in the midst of a woodland adventure. You express your admiration for Alejandro's artistry and explain your quest to find Chonk while offering him some treats to help him regain energy. Alejandro, always in tune with nature's rhythms, ponders for a moment before sharing an insightful thought, or a thoughtful insight. An insightful thought. In his soothing voice, he mentions, "You know, my friend, I think I did see this Chonk. I believe I caught him along with the group of mischievous raccoons that chomp at the berry bushes nearby. Look around here and perhaps you'll find some clues to guide you both Chonk and his favourite snacks." With his words in mind, you and Odette set off deeper into the woods, hopeful that Alejandro's wisdom will lead you to possibly find the legendary creature. So we can place a fruit ingredient token on the Chonky deck to continue your search. So let me read that rule again, what we do now. Place that on there. Where's the other one? Chonk loves snacks. So I can discard that berry now by discarding a cooked recipe that has that ingredient in its cost. So then I can immediately draw a card from the top of that deck and serve him immediately. And hopefully it is Chonk. Okay. So that would be really good then, because I have a berry already. If I could get some more berries going. What have I got next? I've got a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Look at that. So I could do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And do some foraging. So let's forage for a flower. What do I want? Should we go for a soda? Let's actually go for the soda, I think. So that's going to be 3 berries that I need. I actually don't need 3 berries, but we'll keep the berries, I think. Let's forage for 3 berries and we get a nut. Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. So that is the end of the day. Again, we are out of tokens, so we can choose one to rest with. Unfortunately, we still don't have any bark, so we can't move our jar, but I'm not too worried about that right now. And what should we do? Should we gain 2 of the main ingredient, nuts? I mean, that could be good to do, couldn't it? I've just realized as well, we really need to reserve a recipe, because what happens, even though we're going on an extended trip, we're still like resting and resetting. So technically all of these tokens would usually go back in the bag and get reshuffled, but that's not happening in this scenario. And all of our ingredients, all of our recipes will also go away. So I'm going to use my 1 to 4 to do the reserve a recipe. I want to reserve this wild raspberry soda. And I gain a point as well. And that one comes out, which is fine. And then that's it. So we are resetting. Let's bring everything back. And what happens, usually we would do all of these tokens. We don't. We're going to get rid of all of these recipes and draw 6 new ones. I believe in a 2-player game as well, you would redraw all of the guests that you can serve, but because we're doing a story, we are not doing that today. We are keeping our area as well. We would return all of the books to the library. We are going to reshuffle some of these tokens around, which is good because I wasn't keen on those upgrades, if I'm honest. I wasn't keen on those. I've got another forage ability. Oh, I want that so badly. And I would like that extra token as well. Oh, and the berry. These are good. These are very good. Okay, let's get rid of those. All right. Okay, there's quite a lot going on here now then. So I desperately want to make that wild raspberry soda. Is there a way that I can do that 1, 2, 3, 4 and get that bark as well? Yes, let's go ahead and do that quickly. So we're going to do, before I do that, I get so excited. At the beginning of each day, we can gain 2 ingredients of your choice or 3 of the current main ingredient. I don't want to gain 3 of the main ingredient because I've already got 3 nuts. So I'm going to gain 2 of my choice. It's so difficult to know what I'm going to need. Let's say let's have a look at some of these abilities as well. So Professor Shade would give us points at the end of the game for some nuts, which is nice, but we're probably going to spend them. Mary and Maisel are going to be difficult to serve because they need 2 different dishes. So maybe I'll ignore them. But then again, especially as their breakfast dish that they want is really costly, the dinner dishes are much better, I think. And they are quite costly as well. But there's no breakfast dish for Sloane. All right, Professor Shade might be better then, and that's any ingredient. So I'm going to get 2 of this seagrass, this sea ingredient, and hopefully get the sea lettuce granola over to Professor Shade. And now we're going to go and cook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I am adjacent to bark, so I get 2 bark. And then I am going to cook. And I'm going to cook this wild raspberry soda. So I discard 3 berries and 1 flower to go in my cooked recipes. 3 points. 1, 2, 3. And now what I'm going to do is, I think it says discard, doesn't it? So I have to discard that berry that's on the chunk deck by discarding a cooked recipe that has that ingredient in its cost. So I'm going to discard my wild raspberry soda that I've just cooked to discard this berry and hope and pray that it's chunk. It won't be, will it? Of course it won't be. No, it's Winry. I want to call it her Winfrey. It's Winry. So I can serve her though without paying her cost or needing to be in a picnic zone, but I am anyway. So yeah, so let's just read what Winry has to say. She also gives me 1 point, which is very nice. And she is 131. 131. Don't know what this little piggy can have to say. We'll find out. 131. So a young piglet adorned with a cute little flower tucked behind his ear has wandered into your path. It sniffs curiously at the stacks you've laid out in the hopes of luring Chonk. The sight of the piglet's gentle curiosity warms your heart, and you can't help but be enamoured by its cuteness. Just as you're admiring the little darling, a voice calls out from the nearby bushes. A young man emerges, a warm smile on his face, and he lovingly picks up the pig. "Ah, there you are, Winry," he exclaims with joy. He explains that Winry is his pet pig, and you can be quite the picky eater. He's grateful that you've left out something interesting enough to capture her attention. In appreciation for your kindness, the young man reaches into his bag and offers you a small, beautiful bundle of foraged goods. You accept it with a smile, touched by the unexpected encounter and the opportunity to meet another avid forager on the trail. As you continue your search for Chonk, you cannot help dreaming of one day owning an adorable pig of your own. All right, so we gain 4 ingredients of your choice. Oh gosh, this is difficult. What do we want? So we can cook this sea lettuce granola. Let's have a look at what books we want then. If we go for a mushroom, we want that forage token. I completely digress. We want to cook this chicory root tea because it's going to be quite cheap. That means I'm going to take 4 roots because it needs 2 roots. And that means I've then also got a spare root to research the roots. And I've got a spare root to then return the book to debt. Okay, that's what we're going to do. We need to get moving then. So if we continue to maybe cook while we move around, unless I want to research again, I could do 1, 2, Actually, let's cook there while we have that opportunity to cook and get some extra bark. So we can do 1, 2. We are adjacent to some bark, so we can get 2 of the bark, which is very nice. And we're also going to cook this sea lettuce granola for 3 points. 1, 2, 3. Okay. We can now serve Professor Shade while we 1, 2, 3, 4. We still can't get to the roots. So if we go 1, 2, 3, we can serve him. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, let's do that. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's serve Professor Shade the sea lettuce granola. I'm not sure what a tree is going to think of granola bars, but let's see. So he's just going to do at the end of the game abilities, which is absolutely fine. So we can just sort of push him out the way. Oh, and I didn't see this. Winry has a when served ability, so we actually gain 3 mushrooms as well. Sorry, I'm doing this in all sorts of ways, which means we could have cooked the asparagus casserole actually. That's really nice. We can do that in a second. But we are at the moment serving Professor Shade. So let's pop him down here. And he is going to give us entry 137. 137. Okay. As you and Odette venture deeper into the forest on your quest to find Chunk, you stumble upon a peculiar tree. Unlike any tree you've seen before, this one has a face drawn on its bark, complete with eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Odette, who is travelling with you, greets the tree with a cheerful hello, completely unsurprised by the sight. Just as Odette finishes her greeting, the tree's features suddenly come to life. Its wooden eyes blink open and a mouth formed from the bark moves to speak. Well, hello there, dear travellers, it says in a refined tone. Odette smiles warmly as if meeting an old friend. Hi, Professor Shade. It's good to see you again, she says, as if the animated tree is a long-time acquaintance. She offers a small snack to the tree and it graciously accepts, thanking her for the generosity. Before you can inquire further about what is happening, Odette turns to Professor Shade. Professor, we're looking for Chonk. Do you know where he is? Have you seen him? Professor Shade sighs and replies, I'm afraid not, dear. I've been quite occupied teaching these unruly squirrels proper etiquette. As if on cue, a group of squirrels begins running up and down the tree's trunk, causing a commotion. Professor Shade raises its wooden voice and commands them to settle down. Finally, regaining some peace and quiet, Professor Shade offers a suggestion. Perhaps you can try luring Chonk in with some nuts. It seems to be effective in managing these mischievous squirrels. Suddenly, one squirrel knocks another out of the tree's upper branches. Baxter, no! Professor Shade shouts. I'm so sorry, Odette, but I will have to ask you and your friend to come back another time. I need to get these rascals under control. With that, Professor Shade kindly offers you a handful of nuts and wishes you the best of luck in finding Chonk as he shoos you away. As you and Odette leave, you hear the animated tree scolding the squirrels once more, a testament to its dedication to teaching etiquette, even in the midst of the forest's chaos. So we are placing a nut and seed ingredient on the Chonky deck. And gain 3 ingredients. Continue your search. Gain 3 nuts, basically. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's good. Continue your search. Oh, dang. Dang it. My gosh, this is turning into a bit of a mission and a half. So we got 2 extra things to do. We really need to cook something then with nuts in it desperately, because we might be able to trigger the next endpoint. So what do we want to do? The things with nuts in, I mean, we've got this acorn nude salad, which is really costly. We'd need to get another sea ingredient. Oh, that's the only thing we're missing though. So we could forage here for that. Maybe we should do that then. We also desperately need to do some more research. We're meant to be researching there. Ultimately, we're going to be more powerful foraging when we have the full amount of forage symbols. So why don't we use this to go 1, 2, to then pay the route, to research the route, to then gain that forage token, to place it there. And then I can do that immediately by sending it back and giving it to Odette. I think. Oh my God, I don't know. This is going to be very, very close. It depends what happens. And then we've only got a movement of 1. What was I looking at? So I was going to cook this acorn noodle salad. So that needed 3 nuts, 1 bark, 1 sea thing, 1 berry, and a mushroom. So that's fine. We can still actually go and forage. So let's do that now. So that was a good idea, I think. So let's do that and then forage for the sea ingredient. And we've got 3 more forages. We've also got a nut. What do I want? Who knows what I want? I have absolutely no clue. We don't need berries, really. I mean, that needs a berry. And it would be really nice to do berries so I can move this jar along. But again, I just don't know that we're going to have time to do that. Should we get some greens? Lots of greens are needed. So that's the sea thing. Greens. Let's get a berry. And I've got 1 more thing to forage. Let's get another sea thing. No, let's get another green. All right. Good. All right, so that's the end of the first day again. What do I want to do? I mean, we could move our jar token. 1, 2, we'd be moving it 3 spaces along. I mean, that's going to be good points-wise. We are going to do it, I think. I'm not certain the rest of them are too vital right now. So we need to pay a wood and a berry. And now I can push my jar along according to how many jars I have. So I have 1 on Odette, 1 on Winry, and 1 on my board. So I can move it 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. So even though I've only moved it 3 spaces, I'm actually on 5 points with my jar. And you just add your normal points to your jar points at the end of the game. And that's good. So come back, everyone. And then we're on day 2. We really have to hurry up. So at the beginning of each day, we can get 2 ingredients of your choice or 3 of the current main ingredient. So we could get some more wood, bark. The thing is, we've already booked out the bark book. And so that's not at the library anymore. So we can't win the game unless we also get those 5 books on Odette. So we could do berries, perhaps. Berries are still needed on one of those thingamajiggies. I could get a berry and a mushroom. Yeah, let's get a berry and a mushroom. Okay, so we want to cook. So where do we want to cook? We ideally want to cook here. So let's cook with our number 1. So we can automatically get 2 wood, 2 bark. And then I am cooking this acorn noodle salad. So that needs 3 nuts, a bark, a aquatic plant, a berry, and a mushroom. I get 6 points. And then we draw back up. I am going to discard it immediately. So let's discard this acorn noodle salad to discard this acorn from the chonk deck and pray that it's chonk. It is not. Oh my God. I think we're going to lose. So this is Mips and Mims. So once again, at the game end, we may discard some of the greens to get points. We get entry 1, 2, 6. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. That's really bad luck. So 1, 2, 6. Where are we? Hoping to lure Chonk in with a delectable snack, you come across a truly peculiar sight. As you hide among the lush foliage, your keen eyes spot a round, grey creature unlike any you've seen before. It's about the size of a round cat and has the face of a mouse, but its most striking feature is the majestic lion's mane that frames its face. It gazes at you with curious eyes, its nub of a tail twitching with anticipation. Due to its size and shape, you had hoped this strange creature might be the legendary Chonk you've been searching for. However, your heart sinks as you realise it is not Chonk, but something entirely different. Something, perhaps, magical and out of this world. To your surprise, the creature seems unbothered by your presence, and it pays no mind to you as a smaller, equally magical creature emerges from the underbrush and clambers onto the back of the larger one. The sight is nothing short of enchanting, as the smaller creature plays merrily on the back of its larger companion. You watch with wonder and amusement as they interact, their bond evident in their carefree play. Just when you think the scene couldn't get any stranger, the larger creature lets out a powerful sneeze and, to your astonishment, leaves dance in front of them to form a shimmering portal to another world. Strange. Without hesitation, the two magical creatures step through the portal and vanish from your sight, leaving nothing but a puff of leaves in their wake. You stand there in disbelief, wondering if what your eyes just witnessed was real or a dream. Though you didn't find Chonk, the encounter with these enchanting creatures leaves you with a sense of awe and a newfound belief in the extraordinary possibilities that exist beyond the ordinary world. So gain 4 victory points. 1, 2, 3, 4. It says discard Mips and Mims. Fine. And we continue our search. That's really rubbish. Oh, that's so difficult. I wanted something from them, you know? I wanted something from them. All right, we're going to have to really think about this then. So, what can we cook immediately? We have to cook something right now. So, Sloan is going to be out because he wants a breakfast item. We don't have breakfast items right now. I'm going to discount Mary and Maisel because I don't have time to cook 2 things and serve them. So, Brooklyn it is. So, I can serve the asparagus casserole straight away. Or I can probably do this. I can do this one as well, the turnip stew. Yeah, let's do the turnip stew because that's going to save mushrooms, and I would like the mushroom book. So if we can try and do 1, 2, 3. Let's do a 3 and cook. 1, 2, 3. We are going to cook the turnip stew. So that is 2 here, 1 berry, 1 greens, and 1 mushroom. Cooked the turnip stew for 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have to serve it right now. Serve right now. I haven't got anything which helps me with this. So we need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2. We've got a nice 2. Or we could do 1, 2, 3. Okay, it would be really good to 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can I go 4? Yes. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we are serving next to bark, we get 2 more bark. We are serving Brooklyn. Come on, Brooklyn. You have to help us. So she wants a dinner. She is getting dinner. She gives us no points. She does have a jar. She does have a discard ability to serve 1 guest card without paying its cost. Oh, maybe I should have done that one first. Serve 1 guest card without paying its cost. You do not need to be in a picnic zone. So that could help us. Entry 108. So let's have a look at her entry. While Idette takes some time to rest, you explore the local library for books to help in her lessons. Your attention is drawn to a vivid poster featuring a woman named Brooklyn, a well-known local actress cast as the legendary hero of Snacks, Chonk, in an cast as the legendary hero of Snacks, Chonk, in an upcoming outdoor theatre production. That's so weird. Okay. The poster announces the play's title, Chonk the Cruncher, a snack-tacular tale of munching mayhem. Intrigued and amused by the absurdity of it all, you decide to attend the rehearsal, hoping to glean some insights into Chonk's whereabouts. Stepping into the rehearsal space, you're met with a scene of pure comedic chaos. Actors dressed as snacks and woodland creatures prance about the stage, engaging in slapstick humour and over-the-top antics. In the centre of the madness stands Brooklyn, fully committed to her role as Chonk as the snack-saving superhero. She embellishes every line and movement with theatrical flair, and her energy is infectious. After the rehearsal concludes, you offer some food to the actors and introduce yourself to Brooklyn. As you inquire about Chonk, she turns to you with an exaggerated flourish, her voice dripping with melodrama. "Ah, a fellow seeker of the legendary Chonk, the hero of snacks, my dear. Fear not, for I, Chonk, shall assist you on your noble quest." She throws her arms around your shoulder and continues in a hushed, dramatic tone. "But first, you should know Chonk's one true weakness. Truffles. He is often seen near the park sniffing them out. So while Brooklyn's theatrics leave you a bit annoyed, you can't help but wonder if there might be some truth in her words. As you thank her for the information, you begrudgingly agree to come back for the full performance of the play on opening night. So we have to discard Brooklyn without triggering her ability." Oh, really? Oh, this isn't going well. Gain 8 victory points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we place a fungus ingredient token on the Chonky deck. All right. Last one then. This is it. Can we make anything with the fungus? Actually, luckily, there's quite a few things that need fungus, but I can't make that right now. I don't have any roots. I'm 1 mushroom short. 1 mushroom short. And 1 aquatic ingredient short. So I am not quite there. All right. So I've got 1 action left. If I plan to rest with my 3, that means I can get the mushrooms. So I'm going to try and... Oh my God, I don't want to use my mushrooms. Yeah, the mushrooms are fine. 1, 2. I'm going to use a mushroom. What else could I use? A nut? I mean, it doesn't matter at this point. Let's use the nut instead then. No, let's use the mushroom. I'm going to use the mushroom to study mushrooms. I get this upgrade. Shall I put that here? I'm going to pay another mushroom to return it to Odette. And then we're resting because we're done. So we're resting with the 3, which means I can trigger a when served ability. I'm going to trigger Wind Freeze to gain 3 mushrooms. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we just don't have enough time. We are on the cusp. And then we got 3 goes left. So we have to cook. Oh, it is possible if we found a way to cook, and then we could discard that to hopefully find Chonk. I mean, it will be Chonk. And then I could research a book and then trade that in. So I think we could win. I think we could win just about. So if I used 1, 2, 3, we need to cook right now, I think. So if I used my 1 to cook there, and I cook that, the asparagus casserole, I would discard it. And then I would need to, I could then move 1 again to trade in that book. Oh, perfect. Okay, so let's try and do that. So if we move 1, we are cooking the asparagus casserole. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did I get my 2 ingredients or 3 of the current main ingredient? I don't think I did I? Sorry. So let's try and get 2 of my choice. I don't really know what's going to help. Should we just get some random ones, or should we actually try and rest. Yeah, let's get a bark and a berry so we can get some more points. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4 bark. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 mushrooms. And we have cooked the asparagus casserole for 7. Okay, I'm going to discard this asparagus casserole to discard this darn mushroom. And I found the little sod called Chonk. Ah, he is very cute, to be fair. So let's read 143. I don't think I'm doing anything else. That's the end of my turn. So 143. It better not be now serve everyone else or something. So the sun dips low on the horizon as you and Odette continue your search for the legendary snack-loving raccoon Chonk. After countless attempts and clever strategies, you finally spot a rustling in the bushes nearby. Your heart races with excitement as you quietly place a tasty snack on the ground, hoping to catch Chonk's attention. With bated breath, you and Odette watch as Chonk cautiously emerges from the shadows. Odette's eyes light up with pure joy as she begins describing Chonk's every move in lively dialogue. Oh, look at him. He's sniffing the air. And there he goes, reaching for the snack. You see that? He's rolling over. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. Chonk's antics fill the moment with wonder, and his appreciation for the tasty treat is evident in every bite. Odette, utterly delighted by the scene, continues to narrate Chonk's actions with infectious enthusiasm. As Chonk finishes his snack, he nods in thanks, a silent gesture that speaks volumes. Just as you and Odette revel in the magical moment, a man with a bag of chips strolls by, blissfully unaware of the snack-loving legend in your midst. Chonk's keen eyes lock onto the snack, probably? The tempting treats and their audible crinkle, and Odette cannot contain her enthusiasm. Go get them, Snacks King, she exclaims. Chonk, propelled by his insatiable snack cravings, darts after the man and his chips. The startled man takes off running, and Odette bursts into laughter, her joy filling the forest with mirth. As the day begins to fade, you and Odette share an elated sense of accomplishment and a newfound bond with the legendary Snack King Chonk. Walking away from the scene, your hearts are light, knowing that today was a day to remember, made all the more special by the whimsical encounter with Chonk and Odette's infectious delight. All milestones are complete. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so we discard any remaining guest cards in the supply, as well as any cards in the Chonky deck. Let's get rid of these guys. It does say reveal 6 guest cards from the top of the guest deck, so I'm not going to worry too much about that because I am nowhere near able to bother to even look at serving anyone. We don't have time. So there's 6. That's fine. Continue to play the remainder of the game like normal and read the entry when complete. So foraging 101 rule is still in effect and must be completed. So we have to still have 5 books on Odette's card in order to win the game. We are about to get that though. So that is perfect. So what's Chonk's at the end of the game ability? You may discard 6 ingredients of your choice in your supply to gain 5 points, or discard 10 to gain 11. So we can still do lots of foraging in a minute to do that. That would be good. So what we're going to do now is we want that last book. So we're going to go here, I think. So let's just move 1. Let's just think about that. We're actually going to pretend it's a 3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And I am going to, we get a berry. So that's fine, we get a berry. And I'm going to research the nuts and seeds. So I have got the book Nuts and Seeds, and I don't really have anywhere to put that right now. So it doesn't really matter. And now I'm going to pay a nut and seed to give this book to Odette. So we have 1. Whoop, that was close. And then the final thing that I'm going to do is just go and forage. So I'm going to go up here to go 1, 2. And I want to forage. So I'm going to get 5 nuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. That is the end of the game. We should have redrawn that. Not that that matters now. but we still do need to rest. So we are, I think honestly the best thing to do is to pay the bark and the berry to rest with our wild action and move our jar. So we're going to be moving our jar 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. So we're on 12 points with our jar. And that is the end of the game. So yes, our criteria were to fulfill all of the, the milestones, which we have done, and give 5 books to Odette, and she has got 5 books on her. So that was really close. So let's just read the very final entry, 999. Oh, it's a short one. I was expecting a big, I guess the big finale was in the last entry. So if Odette has at least 5 books on her card, we read entry 1001. If she does not, she may have seen Chonk, but unfortunately she didn't get to learn enough about foraging on the way, so you lose the game. Better luck next time. So we do win. So as the day draws to a close, you find yourself taking Odette home, her joyous laughter still ringing in your ears from your encounter with the legendary Chonk. As you enter her cozy room, Odette leaps into a mountain of plushies with boundless enthusiasm. She's over the moon about finally seeing Chonk in person, but what fills her heart even more is the precious time she got to spend with you. Oh, that's so cute. Amidst her soft and cuddly companions, Odette excitedly recounts the lessons she learned while foraging, sharing her newfound knowledge with her stuffed friends. She turns to you with a beaming smile and says, "I can't wait to go out to forage with you again sometime. It was so much fun." Later that week, you take Odette to the local play Chonk the Cruncher, a snacktacular tale of munching mayhem, accompanied by some of the friends you met during your quest. As you watch the production come to life, you can't help but feel a deep sense of warmth and gratitude. Reflecting on the journey you've shared with Odette, you recall how uncertain you were when she first entered your life. You wondered if you'd be any good at interacting with a child. However, as time passed, you've witnessed the blossoming of her personality and the profound impact of your relationship. With a heart full of emotion, you realise how much you cherish these moments and the person Odette is becoming. You hope for countless more opportunities to create heartfelt memories and share in the beautiful journey of her growth. The depth of your connection with her fills you with immense happiness, and you look forward to the many adventures that lie ahead. There we go. All right, so that was a very long-winded one and my throat is sore. But that is how you play a solo scenario of Wild Gardens. That was scenario number 7. So the very final one, I have now played through all of them in the base game. And we won. Just we had one extra turn to actually do that in. And we actually score as well. So we have actually got, let's do the final scoring. So we have got 55 plus 12, which is going to be 67. Yep, 50, 67. So you do your forager plus, or is it your pollinator plus your jars? And my jar was on 12. My pollinator was on 55. You then have a look at any people with the game end ability. So actually, I'm going to do this before we trigger the end of the game. So I can discard Alejandro to get 4 of the current main ingredient. So let's just get 4 mushrooms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because ingredients are worth points at the end of the game. And that's all of those. So Odette is... Actually, it would not be beneficial for me to do that. Let's not do that, because Odette's is actually, you gain 2 points for each guest in your play area. And if I discarded Alejandro, I would not get that. So with Odette, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 on top of that. I need a calculator. I'm going to go get a calculator. Haven't got a calculator. We've instead just got the laptop going. So Chonk's ability at game end. So we may discard. Let's actually do Professor Shade first. So Professor Shade is we can discard 5 acorns to gain 4 points or 8 to gain 10. So we do have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can either gain 4 points from Professor Shade, or we can look at Chonk. So we may discard 6 ingredients to gain 5 points or 10 to gain 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're going to discard all of these to get 11 points from Chonk and ignore Professor Shades. So that's 11. And then normally what you would do is you would gain 1 point per group of 4 leftover ingredients, and they can be any types. But we don't have any, we've spent all of them. So we are adding up. So we have got 90, bang on 90 points. So that actually isn't too bad. What did it say? The best score was over 100, wasn't it? Yeah, so 75 was the epic achievement, so 100 was legendary achievement. So we have 1, but there's still room for improvement there. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is Wild Gardens, as I said. And I hope you enjoyed that. That was scenario 7 out of 7. And I will be back momentarily where I go over my final thoughts on this game. So I want to go through some of my final thoughts on Wild Gardens. And before I dive into my full thoughts on the game, I want to head this up and say that I am going to go into a lot of what sounds really negative, but I do overall enjoy the game. I don't tend to, when people look at my content on YouTube, I am sure that they think that I'm not really a proper reviewer because, well, I'm not really a proper reviewer. That's not really what I intend to do a lot of the time, but because a lot of my content is very positive. And that is because I don't have the time to invest in games that I'm not enjoying. If I'm not enjoying a game, I'm not going to put myself out and do a playthrough and then hours and hours of editing for a video. I just would probably mention it in my vlog videos that I do and then move on. So it's a testament that I have played this one on film. I've done a playthrough of this one and like it enough to review it for you today. But it is certainly not quite what I expected. And for the first time ever, I have actually written down some notes for what I want to say today because there's so much to talk about. And I didn't want to ramble on too much for that reason. So then going straight into it, I think where this has fallen down for me overall is because I had such high expectations of it. And the reason that I had such high expectations of it is because Rose Gauntlet's first game, Keystone North America, is like my favorite game of all time. The solo mode in that one is brilliant in that it has a journal that you go through, sets up the scenario for you, and you play through a puzzle, which is sort of set in the real world with like a little task that you're doing, and that task or that rule is implemented some way in that puzzle. And I thought that was excellent. It was brilliant. And from the development of the Kickstarter, the way the Wild Gardens was going, they described the solo mode of Wild Gardens to take a lot of the ideas from Keystone North America and run with the narrative aspect and, build on those ideas and work from it from that point of view. So the overall look at this game, I have to say, this is the most beautiful game I have ever seen, and I love the art style. I love the palette and how it looks so much. It is beautiful. And yeah, no other game has actually come close for me. This is my favorite game to look at. I will say that they don't utilize that to the best of its ability, but that's something I haven't even written down, so I won't go into that. But I've lost my train of thought now. So I did come into this thinking that it was going to be giving me the same feelings as Keystone North America, and it absolutely doesn't. And so ultimately, I think that I'm just comparing it so much to that game and my enjoyment of that game. So I do want to sort of heads up and say, if you haven't played Keystone, or you're not expecting it to sort of be so similar, maybe you will enjoy this one a lot more. But I think that I just had such high expectations and it just didn't meet it for me. So it was a letdown from that perspective. So I'll go into the first reason where it sort of fell down a little bit for me. Basically, I sort of felt that Keystone North America was really strong in that it took a lot of it basically took a lot of the elements of the multiplayer game, but just built on it. So you are still using a lot of the strategy that you would have in your multiplayer experience, but really push that even farther and give you an additional puzzle to work with, which was integrated with a real life story. Absolutely phenomenal. So Wild Gardens, I feel, does not do that and does not even come anywhere close. Because when I'm playing multiplayer, I enjoy the multiplayer version of this, by the way. When I am playing multiplayer Wild Gardens, I am looking at the intricacies between all of the cards. So I'm looking at what guests I can serve to trigger an ability which may help me somewhere else. I'm looking at the library to try and get certain skills where I'm maybe focusing on one ingredient type to really get a lot of those things going. And you're triggering a little combos. It's not a combo heavy game, but just little bits here and there. I find with the solo mode that you are not focusing on those aspects at all. You are entirely guided by the narrative. And a lot of the time you are so restricted by who you're actually serving because of the way the story is. You're interacting with like one or two people maybe at a time. You are so restricted of what recipes you're going to be doing. And so your actions are just, there's no sort of planning involved, not a lot of planning involved. And you saw a little bit of planning in the game today, but this is the most complicated scenario in the book. And so I just feel that a lot of the strategy overhead that you may have in Wild Gardens is actually taken away to quite an extent in the solo mode. So you are restricted in what you do and you are focusing on different things. So that is the main thing that really stood out to me when I played a multiplayer version versus the solo mode. And going into that a little bit further then, or actually taking a step back, I was disappointed with the amount of solo content here. And I don't know if anyone's ever said this ever, but I wish there was a beat your own score variant. I love the way the multiplayer works so much that that's how I would prefer to play it now. And I think it would enhance the very playability of the solo mode of this game, but there isn't one available. And I feel that it could have been so easily implemented. I've got some ideas of how to implement it myself, but I can't be bothered to make my own components. I don't have the time to put into that. And I feel like that could have been such an easy thing for them to do, and they didn't do it. And I wish that they did. So content-wise, you do have 7 story scenarios in the base game. And I don't feel that that is enough. The first 3 are counted as, I think they're like introductory ones. I think they're called basic, or they're like easy ones. And so they were really easy. And I will say that actually all of them are quite easy. This one was harder, but I haven't lost a single one. And so the first 3, unless you were really keen on the story and wanted to see and read every single diary entry, there's no point in replaying them. There's no challenge enough there, and it doesn't change the rules up enough. You're just basically serving one person, reading an entry, serving the next person, reading an entry. And so that means there's only 4 out of the 7 scenarios that you may want to replay. And I would probably only replay them twice maximum, and then I'm sort of done with it. Now, there are 3 expansions, like mini expansions. They're like little tiny sleeves of about 10 cards, I think, that you can purchase, and I got as part of my bundle. And they have a solo scenario each. I haven't touched them yet, but I will have to say that they are digital ones. So there's a QR code to scan, so I cannot open the book and read it like I would today. I would have to have another device in order to read the diary entries on, and I don't like that. I would much prefer to read it from a book. And on top of that, the actual expansion content is just a little bit weird. I personally feel one of the packs, there's 3 packs and I couldn't quite remember what the third one was, but one of them is like a media pack. So it's with like board game personalities that you see on the internet. And they're like characters in the game, which I just feel is a little cringy. I'm not too keen on that idea. Maybe it's cool if you're that person, but otherwise I'm just like, I'm not sure. Is that comfortable? It's a little bit strange. I haven't played it, so know how weird it is. The other one is with Kickstarter backers, I believe, so public, which I believe would be better, because then at least if you don't know the person, it's just another random character, you don't know them. And there is another expansion. So there are 3 extras that you can purchase. I don't know what the difficulty of those is, but I feel that they absolutely should have been included in the base game to make it 10 story scenarios at a minimum, to really push that. And I would have wanted a beat your own score variant as well to really just push that boundary. I know that they were talking so much about how they wanted this to have elements of that Keystone North America solo sort of experience. And there's 20 scenarios in Keystone North America. It is a smaller game, but I just feel that having less than half of that amount in this sort of game of this expanse, it sort of drops it for me. And I would have wanted more. Okay, so starting to mark off some of my points now, because I'm already 10 minutes in and I haven't even got through half of my list. I do feel like these scenarios are too easy. 3 out of the 7 of them are just so easy that you won't want to look at them again. But even the harder ones, the more advanced ones, I've never lost one. So I would have wanted to have seen more in terms of difficulty. Granted, they do have different barriers in terms of the scoring, so I haven't got the legendary achievement on all of them, but because you are essentially just playing through a story, I'm not sure that I've got much motivation to go back to the stories to replay it again. I also want to talk about the stories themselves, and the big one that I want to talk about is the world and the implementation of the theme. We'll start with the stories themselves. I am someone who really loves like coziness and cuteness and, you know, the colourful artwork and colourful world building stuff. I love finding out about all of that world stuff and, you know, immersing myself. Unfortunately, I feel that this tips too far in the other direction, and it's on the verge of being cringy instead of really cute and nice and lovely. I just feel sometimes that the writing is just not quite strong enough to really sort of pull it into something that you want to experience, and it's just feeling a little bit like you're reading your teenage daughter's like creative writing projects for school. I feel so bad saying that because I don't know, I don't feel that they're bad. They're just so weird and wacky that I just wasn't expecting that. And that sort of leads me into the theme of the game and the world building itself. With Keystone North America, and I shouldn't be comparing them all the time because they never said that it was going to be like this is a completely separate game. But with Keystone North America, they had a wonderful theme of nature. You're an ecologist, biologist, learning bits about different animals and using the little facts that you learn. They've crafted a puzzle around that. And you actually learn real world stuff. In this, they have got a fabulous theme, foraging wild ingredients. They have got a whole deck of real world ingredients here that some of them I've never heard of. Most of them I've never heard of. And the idea that you are foraging these and crafting these dishes that are real world dishes with these ingredients in is amazing. What a world that you've created. And you see none of it, basically. Absolutely none of it in the story. So they never actually reference any of the actual ingredients, really. They sort of mention it every now and again, but you don't learn anything. This is all completely whimsical, mythical stuff. And I feel like if they actually took elements of the real world implementations of these ingredients, the real world facts and figures, instead of trying to make it too cutesy, too otherworldly and weird, this would have been just an absolutely different experience. I feel like this is such a wasted opportunity into what they could have created from this theme. It is such a lovely, lovely game, but there's just such a disconnect between what you're doing, which is foraging these wild, real-life ingredients and cooking them into real-world dishes, and then serving them to weird pigs. Why are you even like doing this? Half of the stories as well, there was just no real motivation for you to start cooking these dishes. And some of the stories as well were just so on the verge of I'm a bit uncomfortable. I think it was the first scenario where you were cooking a dish for your grandma that you were visiting, and you were visiting with your cousin, and your cousin was a streamer, and so she sort of arrived at your nan's house and started setting up her PC ready to do some work. And there was just an overarching theme of, oh, why don't you come outside where it's healthy? Why don't you come outside and turn off your gadgets? Stop, playing your games and go and get some fresh air. And it was just hammering into my head, like, this is how I used to feel as a child. I used to really enjoy playing my video games, but there was so much overarching negativity around that hobby. I don't know if it's still the same nowadays for kids, but I certainly felt guilty when I would play my video games inside because I felt like I should be outside enjoying the fresh air. But in reality, just enjoy your free time, however, which way you want. Yes, it's healthy to have a balance of both, but if you want to sit on your backside and play your computer games, do it. And this girl was actually a streamer, so she was working instead. And so there is just such a disconnect between the theme of you creating these dishes and being this like naturalistic person that's got this great hobby that they're really good at, but you don't learn or take anything from that, and you're just instead randomly serving dishes to people for no reason. And they do sort of shoehorn in reasons, and it's all just a little bit of a bumpy road in terms of whether it's cute, whether it's weird, whether it goes off in a completely weird tangent. So I'm not the greatest fan of how the theme has been brought into this game and the overarching stories. So I haven't even finished yet with the world building and that. I've actually gone upstairs to get my cute little plushie that I got alongside the game as part of the Kickstarter. I thought this was adorable. Like I said at the beginning, this is probably the most beautiful game I have ever owned. I fell in love with the artwork when I saw it on Kickstarter, so much so that I've reached out to the creators and I've asked for ways to purchase the artwork for postcards so I can display it in my house. That hasn't worked out. I haven't been able to get anything like that, but I decided to really push the boat out, and I've got my little plushie alongside it, and he's called a little one. That's what they called them on the Kickstarter, and they are mentioned. There is a card that you can serve. The little ones, you can serve them at some point in the game, but that is it. I don't know what they are. I don't know what their purpose is. I didn't actually get round to serving them in that one scenario that they turned up in. And so they've created this world with this beautiful world with these gorgeous little creatures in that are so cute, and have them integrated into the artwork. So I think on the other side of the board, I think you can see them. They're on the player boards. They're sometimes peeking out in some of the ingredients, but they're never brought into the story in any meaningful way. And I just find that so utterly bizarre. So I want to sort of replay that one scenario and deliberately just ignore all the other goals, but serve the little ones to see what they are, what they're doing in this world. But I feel like if they are creating a plushie of this creature that's in their game, you would expect that creature to be quite prevalent, quite well integrated into the gameplay or the theme. It's just not anywhere to be seen. And so I just found that extremely bizarre as well. So sort of trying to wrap it up a little bit, I also feel that the solo mode is a little bit too luck heavy in terms of the ingredients, not necessarily ingredients, but the recipes that come out. So you are very much shoehorned into serving a small number of people. You don't have the display of 6 usually. So if you don't have a breakfast item that's out and about, you have to take an action to reserve one, and then you've got no sort of choice about that. So in a multiplayer game, you do have much more turnover of those recipes, but they have helped that with the addition of the rules. So when you go and reserve a recipe, instead of just taking one from the display to reserve it and keep it safe from other players, you are sifting through the deck to try and find one. That's obviously better, but I still feel like it is a little bit too luck dependent on, again, like I was going through that chonk deck, trying to find chonk. If I drew chonk first of all, I would have almost certainly won the game with little to no effort. But because he came out last, that just meant that I've really pushed it in terms of winning or losing. I'm not sure that that's great. I also do feel that it's reasonably repetitive on the actions you're taking, especially in the solo game. So normally I would hardly ever research and reserve. Hardly ever. Very occasionally in the first round or two of the game maybe. And then you would sort of steer into foraging and cooking. I do feel like that may be different in the higher player counts. So you would probably be reserving recipes a lot more. But in the solo game especially, that does definitely feel like an underpowered option. And so it can feel quite repetitive in the actions you are taking. I will say though that, on the whole, the world is quite vibrant, and so it doesn't necessarily feel super repetitive because you are still quite immersed in what's going on. But I just do feel that that is underpowered, and they should have tried to push the power of that research, reserve action up in the solo game a little bit more. Maybe give you more victory points for reserving a recipe to really try and push you to go there as a good option instead of a side option. So I will now sort of finish off with my final point in the price point. And I hardly ever talk about price point, but I do feel that this one sort of has put me off Kickstarters like once and for all. This was expensive, and I knew up front it was going to be expensive, but I didn't mind too much because I knew that I was going to get the upgraded ingredients, and that's all lovely. And, I wanted the plushie and all of that stuff, but I thought I was going to get a game that I would really love to replay and replay and replay. And so I don't feel that in its core components, it's worth the money. And it's overpriced, I do feel. And for the amount of scenarios that you get, because there's only 7, I don't feel that it's worth your money as a solo player. In terms of replayability, even if you think 7 is really good, I would say only 4 of those 7 are any which way replayable because of the complexity of them. The first 3 have little to no additional changes to the rules, so you are cook, serving, cook, serving, cook, serving. That's it. And trying to beat your own score. So I would have liked to have seen a cheaper price point, more scenarios that were less cringy, more strategy implemented in the solo game, and a beat your own score variant. And if it had all of those aspects, I think that it would be a recommendable solo game. But other than that, I have been let down by the solo mode of this one. So I will now go into the multiplayer game just very quickly because I do want to push the idea that I do enjoy this game. I do enjoy it. It's just that I think I went into this having ideas that this was going to be my game of my life. I thought it was going to be my favorite game of all time, and it's not. I've just thought of another thing that I didn't note down. I was on my walk this morning with my dog and I was making a list of everything I wanted to talk about. I've got another one, but I'll talk about the 2-player mode. The 2-player, I've only played it 1 and 2-player. The 2-player I found was really fun and immersive because it's very competitive in terms of you can see your partner collecting all the mushrooms, so you know that they're going to be cooking that one recipe. And so it is quite head to head where you can really sort of screw them over by reserving that recipe yourself. They can't get it any longer, or trying to cook something before they get chance to. I can imagine at higher player counts or at really competitive, playing with really competitive people, it can get quite intense. And I'm not sure therefore that younger players may enjoy that. I don't know. But there's not that sort of head-to-head aspect in a solo game, so it's a lot more chill. But especially a 2-player, that was quite good. I did enjoy how that played, and especially as you are then also focusing on the powers of all the people, and also whether or not they have jars on them a little bit more. You're focusing a lot more on those aspects, and so it just creates for like a much more whole experience, I think. So I prefer to play this one 2-player than solo. I thought it was a pretty solid 2-player game Once again, though, I do feel like the reserving and research action is much more of a side quest, side thing you're doing. So I would have liked to have seen that a little bit more strengthened, but I can definitely see that in higher player counts that is a good action in itself to do. And the very final thing that I did forget to mention was the fact that when you're going on these trips, you're going on journeys and exploring around and foraging on these specific areas, you have a whole deck of these beautiful places. I mean, I've seen very small amounts of America and I've never been to Canada, but these places are illustrated beautifully, and we have a whole, 20 or so of them. And I feel like it's such a missed opportunity and a shame that it makes no difference where you are in the world. So there's no tie-in between the ingredients and the location. There's no narrative about the location you're in. I would have liked to have seen somewhere like there's a split. Maybe the deck's split into 4 and there's all shuffled together. So you might have like Northern Canada, Southern Canada, East Coast America, West Coast America. And you're foraging in these different areas. And it may say something like, I don't know, at the end of a diary entry, if you're in North America, you gain or like flip all the seeds upside down because you don't physically have any seeds in that area. I don't know, just tie it into the theme a little bit more and teach you something. So Northern Canada may be too cold to host aquatic species of plant, so you discard all of them from the game. Just make it a little bit more interesting and to really take those journeys and those actual places that you're visiting into account. Because I look at it at the beginning and I go, oh, we were at the Willamette Valley in Oregon today. That's so beautiful and it's so pretty. But it made no effect on the game and there was nothing to teach me about that area. I don't know what species may be in that area. It's got no real world connotations that's brought into the theme or the story. And that was disappointing once again. But of course, like the strongest thing of this game is the overall look and the components. The components are absolutely gorgeous. I've got the upgrades. So in the non-upgradable version, the forageable tokens on the board are cardboard. I've got chunky wood pieces, and your ingredient tokens that you spend to cook your recipes are all wooden as well. In the base game, not upgraded, they are cardboard. And so they are really, really nice. Everything is beautiful to look at. The cardstock's really nice as well, and all the artwork on it is really vibrant and really interesting. So that is one really good thing to say about this. Component quality wise, absolutely top notch. I will actually wrap that up there because I have been yabbering on for an absolute age. But the overarching theme is that I enjoy this game. It just didn't meet my expectations, and so that's why I think it sounds so negative. I much prefer the multiplayer than the solo game. I wish that they just pushed that solo mode and the overall game farther to really bring in elements of that theme and to teach us stuff about these ingredients and about foraging in general, because it's such a great theme. It's an amazing theme, and I would have just wanted more from that, and that's where it falls down. But certainly if you are not comparing it to anything else, I think you could have a lot of fun with this game. And I can see that younger audiences would be very charmed with this idea as well. And it's just absolutely stunning to look at, an absolute gem to look at. So anyway, that is my thoughts on Wild Gardens. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough, and do let me know down below what your thoughts on Wild Gardens are if you have played this game. I'm quite surprised about my thoughts of this one. As I said, I thought I was going to be loving it, but also I have seen so much positivity around this game as well. And I just would have thought that there would have been a little bit more pushback, and there's not, which is great. It just means that I'm an anomaly and it's just maybe not a game for me. But I was just quite surprised. But thank you so much for listening to me today on my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough, and I will see you very soon with another video. Thank you so much. Bye bye.